friends! Hello Mavericks! Today on Food Mavericks, okay, how do I turn this off? 1000? Don't know. We're going to do one of my favorites, my personal favorites, which we did at our conferences a lot, probably because I liked them a lot. We call them snowballs. Several different cultures that I know about them have a version. Sometimes they're called Greek, like Greek wedding cookies, Italian wedding cookies, Mexican wedding cookies. Can't think of any more, but there you go, there's a few. And this is a variation on the theme. So this is fun, guys. I love this recipe. It's very, very simple. What you do first is you get 1 cup of butter to room temperature. And then you fluff it up like so. Everyone knows about fluff. Needs a fluff. That's the first step. Then we're going to take some sugar. Now the recipe calls for white sugar. But this particular kind of, it's a cookie, you know. This kind of cookie doesn't have binding in it, has no eggs or anything. So you don't have to do what I'm about to do, but you can use white sugar. But if you use powdered sugar instead, then there's a little bit of the binding agent that's in there. In case you don't know what this is, what powdered sugar is, I wondered. It's white sugar powdered, but it's also held in powdered form with some starch, usually cornstarch. So it's sort of fluffy, it stays fluffy, but also the cornstarch in it's going to give a little bit of a binding. It packs down, you probably noticed that if you've used it at all. So the recipe calls for half a cup, which I don't want to put in there. I'm going to put less because we're going to roll them in powdered sugar later. And I find it too sweet, not as much fun. So this here looks like about 1/3 of a cup. And I'm not even quite filling that. So these aren't going to be terribly sweet in this part of it. Okay, so then you wonder, okay, what to do? And you just incorporate. You'll see it's fairly easy if you got the butter to be room temperature. Okay, what next? You put the vanilla in. This is the standard way you develop a cookie recipe. This particular recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of vanilla. One of the reasons it's so good. Okay, there we are. We're going to put 2. Again, guys, you probably heard me say, the better the ingredient, the more famous you'll be, and also the less you'll have to work. Of the higher end vanillas, we got this one online. It makes a difference. I mean, almost to me like a complete difference. So it's worth the investment. You don't use a lot of it. And you can see I'm just mixing that in there. Oil and water don't mix, so they're mix really good. Now, and if you were doing another kind of cookie, at this point you'd be adding the eggs. But not for here. Okay, so there you go. There's those ingredients. Then you have the dry ingredients. In this case, it's flour and salt. No baking powder. So, in a way, this cookie is more like the Scottish shortbread, or pretty close also to like a pie crust, in a way. And so, I just love the simple taste of it. You know, it's just magic. One time I ate so many of them, oh man, it's been a joke ever since. This was after we'd served the big meal at the big conferences. The staff would eat downstairs. And one night we had manicotti and these snowballs. And I won't even tell you how many I mean, people laugh at me still when I tell them how many I ate, and I don't even remember. It was like so many, you know, like a dozen or something, after having maybe 8 manicottis. And you're like, so small, but I did it. And it worked. It was fine. Everything worked. Okay. Okay, the flour has a little salt. There's 2 cups of flour and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I like to mix with hand because I like to feel the texture. It smells fantastic. Can they see that? I'm just doing like this. Okay, now I'm going to push it together. This will be soft. Oh, good, soft. You'll find this very, very soft. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the texture here, not mix on video. But see, you just mix it well. It'll be very soft. And when this is completely mixed together, try and get as much off your hands as you can, and refrigerate. We're going to refrigerate this for 1 hour to 2 hours, then come back and make the cookie. Bye, guys! Hi guys, we're here making snowballs. I chilled the dough for about an hour, and during that hour I realized that I had put in half a teaspoon of salt instead of a quarter teaspoon, which would have been a more normal cookie thing. So I thought, oh no. So I tasted the dough and it's good. I used to make crackers at the conferences that it tastes kind of like a cracker. So again, if you're following this exactly, if you put that, we may want to put this in the beginning. Quarter teaspoon, we'll put it at the top somewhere, right? Okay, so here's the deal. The dough is perfect to work with after an hour, this dough. And here I've made these balls. I also added walnuts. These have walnuts in, probably about half a cup for about 3/4 of the dough. So, you know, something like that, of the whole batch. Okay, so here's the deal. They tell you in these things, they're like, go use a cookie scoop, and I'm thinking, I don't have a cookie. And how many of you have a cuckoo scoop, right? Raise your hand. Well, a melon baller would work, but guess who doesn't have one? So I thought what to do, because when we were doing conferences, I eyeballed it, you know. The thing is, I realized you can be a little bit more and to use one of these. This is a half teaspoon measure. If you know, you get these cheap round spoon. And this is a good size because they said about 1 inch, and that's good. So here it says in recipes about 2 inches apart, but I found that this kind of layout works very fine, the alternating row. So there's that. So what I did was I separated the dough into 3/4 and 1/4. 1/4 for the people who don't want nuts, and 3/4 for the people who do. And then I added the nuts at the end to that side. Okay, so now I just want you to see this real quick. How cool this is. Now I hope people can see this. This is the non-nut. So I want you to see. Let me move this. How you might be able to get an idea how like wonderful the dough is. I mean, if you've ever thought of perfect Play-Doh. I mean, it's like perfect. See, so I scooped it like ice cream scoops, gave it a little bit more of a round, and just stuck it on. Again, especially the stuff without nuts is like you just think, oh, I could do this all day long. I mean, the texture's like velvet, sort of, like that. No big deal. I mean, I don't feel any big deal about them being utterly spherical. I think they're going to change out anyway as they cook. And now I'm going to just do a scoop from the nut one. See, just like ice cream, you see how it's over you're making a ball. That's all. So what I'm going to do is I have the oven set at 325, and we're going to cook these about 15 minutes. Check on them, and if they look like they're starting to brown, then we take them out. You don't want to overdo these or they'll get tough. Okay, we'll see you then. Hi guys, we baked these little cuties for 20 minutes at 325. I let them cool on this plate a little bit, but not completely. If you don't want them completely hot off the oven, and you also don't want them cool yet. I've put some powdered sugar in this tray. Can we see that? Okay. By rights, I guess you might have sifted it, but because it can get lumpy if it sits around. So I'm just, fluffing it with a fork. Now, we're not going to do the whole batch here, but we'll show you. The whole fun, actually, part of the whole fun of this kind of cookie is this. There you go. By the way, they've been tested by the chef, and he gave the stamp of approval. It's called the puff test. If they kind of explode in your mouth like puff, then that gets a 5-star rating. If they have any kind of toughness, then you've got to redo the recipe. So that's what has happened. I'm going to do that to these guys, and we will tell you later. Oh, I have another video planned right after this. That will be over at Space Mavericks 1000, and also we'll put it down here so you can see it.